Sometimes you buy a watch just to tell time, but this one tells a story. This Trump wristwatch, steel band, bold, solid red face. It's sharp, it's strong, and it stands out. But more than that, every time you check the time, it's a little reminder that truth still matters. In a world where everyone's trying to spin you, this watch is like carrying a compass that points you back to what's real. And hey, let's be honest, it looks good. It honestly goes with everything. Dress it up or keep it casual. For some, it's a daily piece you'll wear proudly. For others, perhaps it's something you'll hold on to as a collector's item, a reminder of this moment in time and what a time to be alive too, right? Either way, it's not just a watch. It's a statement of what you believe in. It's the kind of thing you'll be glad you've got when someone asks, where were you when all this was happening? You can just point to your wrist and say, right here, keeping track of it all. So yeah, there, it tells the time, but it also tells a story, one which represents the truth. And these days, that feels even more valuable. Get yours today at www.themagaoffers.com/treason watch. That's www.themagaoffers.com/treason watch, or click on the link in the description below, and you'll get a nice discount just for being a loyal viewer of our show. Thank you.
I'm a one-way motorway. I'm a road that drives away, then follows you back home. I'm a street light shining. I'm a wild light, blind and bright, burning off and on. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. I'm a new day rising. I'm a brand new sky to hang the stars upon tonight. I'm a little divided. Do I stay or run away and leave it all behind? It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you give and give again. It's times like these you learn to love again. It's times like these, time and time again. It's times like these you learn to live again. It's times like these you learn to love again.
The Constitution says treason is punishable by death. You've accused your adversaries of treason. Who specifically are you accusing of treason?
Well, I think a number of people, and I think what you look is that they have unsuccessfully tried to take down the wrong person. These are corrupt politicians, fake news, the Coneys of the world, all of the bad things that went on. It's called the swamp. And you know what happened? And you know what I did? A big favor. I caught the swamp. I caught them all. That's treason. That's treason. He is a criminal. He's a criminal. He got caught. Read his laptop. And you know who's a criminal? You're a criminal for not reporting it. You are a criminal for not reporting it. Joe Biden is a criminal, and he's been a criminal for a long time. And you're a criminal in the media for not reporting it. That's treason. That's treason. If you look, caught them all. And we've caught them. We've caught them all. We've got it all on tape. We've caught them all. But should she lose, we'll have an insurance policy, and we'll get this guy out of office. And that's what they said, and that's what they meant. That's treason. That's treason. They say, holy shit, they caught us. They caught us.
What storm, Mr. President?
Welcome, everybody. Happy Wednesday, September 17th, 2025. Welcome back to NewsTreason Channel 17. And of course, Wednesday means it is time for the Q News review with the one and only Mike King of realnewsandhistory.com. And of course, also here on the right side of the screen, we have the one and only Fake News 7 himself, Mark. Mark and Mike, how you gentlemen doing this fine Wednesday?
Absolutely peachy peen.
Well, happy 17th.
That's right. That's right. Happy 17th, everybody. I want to just, first of all, thank you all for tuning in as we do here every Wednesday, episode number 63. We're, of course, off last week. And wow, what an interesting week we picked to take off, huh, Mike? But nonetheless, we are here tonight. It's good to be back with you all. Anybody that is new here, we, of course, do this every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Mike King of realnewsandhistory.com brings his knowledge of over 30 years of study of our true history, combined with his, what I believe to be a excellent 40,000-foot view of the Q operation, not the least of which was on display, I believe, over the last week. So thank you guys all for being here. I want to just get to three quick housekeeping items before we jump into it. First and foremost, obvious apologies for yesterday for the lack of the Tuesday D-class with Rambo and Dave. Our internet here, our Xfinity internet that we have here in Palm Beach County was out from about 9:30 in the morning yesterday until after midnight today. Very, very strange. Don't know what's going on, but we were completely without internet. So obviously could not bring you guys a show yesterday. So apologies for that. Second announcement, my apologies to Mark, because on Sunday I had my own little kerfuffle, if you will, and I completely screwed up the stream over here on the NewsTreason channel. Mark had what I know to be a great show with our friends Joe and Scott from TrueStream. So for your programming notes, what we're going to do is we're going to quote unquote live stream that tomorrow night, tomorrow being Thursday. Yeah, tomorrow night at 7 p.m. Eastern, right here on NewsTreason. So anybody that obviously missed that show on Sunday, we're going to run that back for you guys tomorrow night. Actually, I have 4 announcements. Third announcement that I'm very happy about is I've been speaking with our good friend Patriot Underground. And as you guys know, it's been a long overdue period of time since myself and Mark and Patriot have had the chance to get together and do one of our regular roundtables. And Patriot and I were talking and we said, you know what, let's start making sure we do this on a regular basis. And so since Thursdays are typically kind of sometimes we have a show, sometimes we don't. What we're going to be doing is Patriot Underground, myself and Mark, and maybe some potential guests here and there are going to be doing a regular co-stream every other Thursday beginning on October 2nd. So beginning October 2nd, 7 p.m. Eastern on both of our channels, we're going to do our regular show that you guys have kind of known to come and love. And that's going to be a regular thing ongoing from here forward. So Mark and I are both really, and Patriot are very excited about that we'll have a regular schedule. We're not going to go 2 or 3 months now without getting together. And the last thing I want to say on that point with Patriot Underground is obviously the last week or so has been a difficult world for Anon community, Anon world, and MAGA world, as we've obviously discussed to death. But I want to give a special shout out to a group of people. And if I miss anybody, I apologize. But in particular, center screen, Mike King, obviously Mark, Abs and Stormy over on Absolute Storm, Joe Rambo, Patriot Underground, Derek Johnson, Mark A-Track. That particular group of people are the ones that I in particular noticed, and I know you guys did as the audience, that were at the very least willing to stick their necks out kind of from the moment things took place, despite all the hate and the gatekeeping and the emotion that went on. That group of people, top to bottom, have at the very least not been here to tell you what you're supposed to think, but they've had the testicular fortitude, let's just say, to go out and say what they saw, one way or another. And to me, whether you agree with them or not, that is what we're supposed to be doing. That is what Q told us to do. That is the idea of a truth movement, is to look at things from every angle. And again, this isn't a knock on anybody that didn't do that, but I just want to give a special compliment to all of those people I named, because I think the audience benefited from it. I want to thank you guys. All these different shows of all those people I named saw record viewership last week. And again, for us, it's not about the numbers from an ego standpoint. But when I see Joe Rambo have his most popular show on a Thursday, and then on Friday night we do open lines and we have triple the number of people that we normally do, that at least tells us that you value the opinions that we bring, whether you agree with them or not. And that means a lot to everybody. So again, I just wanted to thank you guys, and again, put a special shout out. And the last thing I do want to say to my friends Abs and Stormy, they waited until last night, and they put together, I believe, to be one of the most comprehensive shows, top to bottom, that at least demonstrates the comms and the anomalies surrounding the event of last week. And in fact, I was talking to Paul earlier today. Keep an eye on social media. I believe what they're going to do is take that hour and a half segment or so where Abs and Stormy did what they do best, which is string together all the different things that happen into one comprehensive segment. And they showed it and they said, you guys decide what happened. And I believe they're going to restream that on Saturday, probably right before we do D-Class. So again, thanks to everybody, and compliments to all the fellow Anons out there that are doing the difficult work. So what we're going to do tonight is we're going to do an entire 3-hour show on everything that's wrong with it. No, I'm kidding. We're not doing that again. That's been beaten to death. What we are going to do is, this is going to be a typical show, but Mike touched base with me earlier today, and he said, he's obviously been writing about the Charlie Kirk assassination and doing some great videos on it. If you haven't seen online on X and his Rumble channel, doing what we've all been doing, diving into the details and what he sees. And he said, I've been writing about that all week, and you guys have covered it. Why don't we take a little bit of a different approach to start the show? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to start tonight with just some speculation, some pattern recognition, some videos that I think are going to start to point towards the why of what happened last week, and kind of how it connects to Israel in particular, and a lot of different things, difficult truths that we've been talking about for a long time. Mike King has been out in front of all this, about how so many things do need to lead to that, saving Israel for last. And once again, whether or not regardless of what your view is on the assassination last week, the narrative space, which is what we need to focus on here, is clearly now pointing in one direction. And that is squarely into the hands of the deep state Israel government. So that's what we're going to focus on first. And then we are going to get into two other Mike King articles, as we always do. One focusing on the crackdown with a Q, of Marxist financing. And also, we're going to finish up, as we always do, with a little historical piece. We're going to take another segment from Dig It Up. So that's the agenda for tonight. But Mike, let me start with you. Go wherever you want with this. Narrative space, whatever it is. I mean, just summarize your thoughts on how this all fits in.
Well, as soon as I heard about the event, my first reaction is this is a fake, and that's just based on a precedent. And but you always have to be on the lookout against that sort of cognitive bias. I mean, naturally, we always tend to frame what happens in the current day based on previous experiences, but nonetheless, you still have to put that aside, be aware of it, don't ignore it, and look at each case individually, because they alone nut might decide to do something. Okay, based on all the things, those things do happen. So with that in mind, I was able to put aside my preconceived notion, my almost instantaneously formed hypothesis, and then take an objective look at it. And I would say in less than 60 seconds, I'm like, yeah, it's fake. And, now, as time passes and you see the aftermath of it, it's quite clear what happened. I did a little bit deeper dig into Charlie Kirk. I knew about his organization on the college campuses, but what I learned is just how extensive and massive it became. Turning Point USA. Boy, isn't that an interesting name? Turning Point, get it?
Right.
Campus, chapters on 800 plus campuses. He started it when he's 19 years old, really built it up rapidly, became a phenomenon, and really shifted what used to be college Republicans. I used to call it milquetoast college Republicans. That's all we had back in the day, into a more conservative campus organization. And he started this endeavor, extremely well funded, by the way, with an amazing infrastructure, like from early on. So that's always an indicator. But the year was 2011, when he's 18, 19 years old. Does that year ring a bell, that time frame? 2011, 2012? That is when Trump starts becoming a hard right political poster on Twitter. That is when we learned from the Newsweek article that the 60,000 man secret army was beginning to be assembled. And so there it is. So I am convinced, I soon became convinced that he was a member of that 60,000 man secret army. And I've since learned, I think I learned it from you, that he's getting some sort of military protocol associated with his funeral, some kind of send-off.
Well, when they were moving the body around, where interesting, J.D. Vance was a pallbearer carrying they were saluting. They gave him essentially a full military. There's a protocol, obviously, at a funeral, which we haven't had yet. There's a protocol when you bring a body home, when you take somebody out.
Yeah.
And if you go back and watch the video, and Abs and Stormy were the ones that pointed this out last night, there was the military that they were saluting. And those are the little things that people dismiss, but it's the military. It's military precision for a reason.
Right.
They don't do that for a civilian. And the second thing, I want to throw it back to you. The other thing that jumped out to me about that entire scene was after they moved the body, we got this image of honestly a bigger motorcade than you see for Trump. I couldn't tell you 50, 100 motorcycles. Now, Mark would be the first one to tell you, in New York City, for example, when a firefighter or a police officer dies and there's a funeral, yes, you get a big motorcade like that. But as much as I love Charlie Kirk, or the character that was, or everything that he did, why is there this giant highway closed motorcade other than to pull at your heartstrings? But there was that military piece of it that stepped in there too, which was yet another oddity.
Very odd. 11 days will pass between the so-called death and the funeral memorial, which is being held in a football stadium that has hosted 3 or 4 Super Bowls in the last 10 years? Could this be make the Super Bowl look like a puppy show? Is that what that refers to? I don't know, but I'm not aware of any personage in American history getting a send off like this. Seriously, no president, no assassinated president, no former president, a football stadium memorial. So yeah, this is part of the show, and it's powerful. And with these things, I mean, even though they're fake right away, the first 24 hours or so, you're trying to assess, okay, what's the play here? Where are they going with this? And as that unfolds, it becomes clearer and clearer. There's many different avenues, okay, that they're playing off of this fictitious event. We're going to talk about one of the pieces we're going to talk about today. It's being used now to launch the final counteroffensive against the left wing in this country, which has already been eradicated. But again, this is going to be for show. So they're going to attack the left. And then we hear the constant murmur now of Mossad involvement, which seems to be growing every cultivated. That's not organic. So they're going to go with that route as well. So there's multiple objectives with this. All of those millions of college kids who went through the TP USA college program over the years, and they're now in their 30s and they're professional. They're all conservative. Now they're going to be hardcore. They're ready. They're ready for Mike King now after an event like this. Right. So on so many different levels, this was a power play I was not expecting, and I almost rank it second only to the masked character Elon Musk taking over Twitter in terms of importance and significance. I don't think anything touches that. In terms of moving the football down the field, but for second place, yeah, and it's still ongoing. So who knows?
Yep.
But this is huge, and I did not see this coming. You just don't. It's just like one of those movies with the constant twists. You can never you just cannot predict. And even if you had told me, well, they're going to fake the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Okay, interesting. I still would not have anticipated this sort of reaction coming out of it, that they could blow it up into something so big. We're just getting started. Because now the so-called assassin, he's alive. Unlike the fake Trump assassination where he died, now he's alive. What is he going to say? Are they going to keep him under wraps? We're already hearing now the protests against the FBI and the way Kash Patel is handling it. Are they covering this up? What's going on? Then you got the memorial. So there's plenty more shoes to drop with this drama. It's going to be very, very interesting to see where they go with this. And I think just based on preliminary data, I think I have an idea. Just hypothesis. Yeah.
It's interesting, all the stuff you laid out, not the least of which the guy they have is practically a doppelganger for Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
Q tells us repeats are next necessary. Q tells us you can't tell the people, you have to show them. Even just those last few data points you laid out, kind of eerily reminiscent to JFK, wouldn't you say?
They framed the Mossad framed the Marxist, and here we have another Marxist framed. Is it going to be pinned on Mossad? We don't know yet, but the clues are coming daily from more and more people that's where they're headed. So yeah, he's a dead ringer for Lee Harvey Oswald. That was no accident. Those mugshots.
Yep. Mark, it's interesting. So one of the things that, as I've said many times, I was obviously on vacation, so I was told about it word of mouth. And full transparency, I looked at somebody I know and I said, I bet you that wasn't real. And then I did look at it very quickly, and I was like, oh man, maybe that was. And then I said, you know what? I'm on vacation. I'm putting this down for a few hours. And the first indication I got that, again, at least something is off. And I want to be clear, we're here giving our opinions We're not here to jam those opinions down people's throats, but this is what we're all going through. This is what we saw. Mark, the first thing I noticed where I said something is off is I put my phone down and I came back and I started getting in my feed just one after another of CNN and MSNBC and all these left-wing outlets. And I'm talking within 2-3 hours of him dying. I don't even mean the next day. Dancing on his grave. And I said to myself, now, wait a second. Even in this world we live in right now, humans are still humans. And even the worst of the left media, at least for the first day or so, is going to toe the line and say, thoughts and prayers with the family and all these different things. But that's not what happened. And then obviously everyone's seen the news since. It's led to people getting fired and all these other things that happened. And as you reported just before we came on, you had Jimmy Kimmel go out and do a monologue last night, which has led to basically most of the affiliates, not all of them, but most of the ABC affiliates, essentially, they didn't formally cancel the show. They basically said it's off the air for right now. But what is the net effect? Like, what is that doing? It's what we've been talking about on this channel now for 2 years. It's throwing that media, which we all tend to believe is amplified messaging. It's throwing that negative media into the face of people, and it's forcing people to sit there and say, look, you could still hate Donald Trump, but this is humanity. Which side are you on? What are your thoughts?
Well, it's funny because when I first heard about it, same thought as you. When I first looked at it, it wasn't as bad as last July, which was just laughable. But, after taking it and putting it in a computer and blowing it up and watching it, it was so blatantly obvious what it was. Then you had, all of the other things like we called last year, with police taking the body through the crowd, which just isn't going to happen. And just, putting him in a car. Where's the ambulance? Well, just all of these stupid things. And this was like the crux of the show on Sunday. Even though I knew that this is the reverse happening. What used to happen with us happening to the left. And the way that I expressed it was, back when I was still working, God forbid you made what would be considered a racist joke, homophobic joke, any, anti-female joke or this or that or the other. Boy, you were in HR and out the door faster than what through a goose. And now all of a sudden, it's happening there. And what prompted the whole show wasn't, I knew that the whole thing was faked, et cetera, but my own sensibilities were so offended by these outbursts and by the things that were being said by the left, by the things that were being publicly relayed. And I think the worst of it, the worst offense to me, was what happened on the floor of Congress, which was just abhorrent. I don't care what your leanings are, what your feelings are, or anything else. Whoever he was, whoever was playing the part of Charlie Kirk, whatever the story happens to actually be, this was allegedly somebody's son, somebody's husband, somebody's father. And it just goes down the line. And another thing that I said on Sunday was, this is what separates those that walk on two legs and those that walk on four. You have to just be an animal to do what was being done. So you watched it going on and on and on, and now you're seeing the aftermath of it, culminating today with the Jimmy Kimmel story, and then, talking about going after The View. And look, ABC's been hit left, right, and sideways with lawsuits and this and that and the other. So there's so many things going on in regard to that with the media. And then if you think about it, you had the shooting, you had the outbursts, and in between, what did the president do? Well, he signed an EO stopping the reformation of the Smith-Mundt Act. So now, if you're going to put out propaganda or you're not going to report truthfully, you're going to get a little worse situation than you get from the slap on the wrist from the FCC. So this is really now setting it up to hold the media's feet to the fire.
Yep.
So there's a lot going on there. And a nameless person who I know quite well also happened to bring up quite a strange coincidence is the fact that Charlie Kirk, CK, is 311.
11.3 mirror.
11.3. So there's a lot to see there. But I think the timing of everything just goes directly to, okay, now we're really going to go to work on the media. And I think it's going to be very interesting what transpires from this point on. So,
and also interesting, you had Trump meeting with King Charles today, also in 11.3. So it's all very, very interesting when you string it all together.
and who was riding in the carriage? Who was riding in the
Trump.
King's carriage?
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll take 1 second and put it out today. Put it out just in case anybody see it. Do these two look eerily reminiscent to each other? Eerily reminiscent.
Totally
isn't it?
flips. Yeah.
Yep. You know, and it's funny. And again, I always bring this up because it's not about numbers, but I threw this up this morning and I was like, all right, well, I know everyone else is seeing the same thing. And my little X account, this somehow got pushed out to 600,000 people. So who out there wanted everyone to see this?
Mm.
What person at the controls of that supposedly Elon owned platform wanted everyone to see the comparisons of these? As I've told you guys before, my posts there don't go to 500,000 people. That just
what's the one substantial difference that you see in that walk from today as opposed to 2018?
The guard
is also in front of the king, the alleged king.
Yep. So they made it even more brazen. Great stuff, guys. All right. So what we're going to do though here is I want to just pivot a little bit and focus a little bit more and try to recenter this whole situation we've been in on the narrative space, because as Mike said, we have some ideas as to where it might go. We're not part of the less than 10, but you know, you can read the tea leaves. And there's a reason we point to, obviously, Donald Trump, General Flynn, Dan Scavino, Boone Cutler. They've gotten more and more brazen, I believe, over the last 6 months in kind of calling things out and almost, you know, the Abs and Stormy call General Flynn General Laser Pointer. Because it's almost like he's sitting there giving you a presentation, putting a laser pointer on something, saying, watch this. And typically over the last few months, the reason he says watch this is because that's exactly, or to some degree, where the story or the movie, if you'd like to call it, is going to go next. First, I want to start with Boone Cutler, because this happened just before we came on the show. And obviously, for people that don't know, Boone Cutler, Special Forces, Psychological Operations, co-author of the Citizen's Guide, all three of them, Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare with General Flynn. So it's a guy that, you know, knows a few things about a few things. And again, he's one of those people that gives you a heads up. He literally posted this not more than 2 hours ago. This is what you're currently experiencing. and it says, "Digital soldiers, these are your battle manuals." And he's showing the books, the Citizen's Guide to Fifth Generation Warfare. So, can the message get any more clear? He's literally telling you guys that read these books. As crazy as things might see, you're living through this right now. Put it right out there for the world to see. And if you don't follow Boone on X, I suggest you do so, because he's constantly putting things out like that. But Mike, you've been talking about, I should say, on this show, you in particular on your own, but we on this show have been talking about the saving Israel for last concept for a long time, in particular since 10/7 with the attack, and how that has that allowed a conversation to start happening about not only Israel versus Palestine, and not just which is right, that there's issues on both sides, but that the narrative we've been given isn't necessarily the truth. Obviously, the separation between the people of both those places and the governments, Israel basically creating Hamas, all these different things. And we've been kind of highlighting over and over on this show, especially over the last year and a half or so, as these different things have been leading us into the truth about Israel, and why it has to go so slow. The fact that they put up the greatest smokescreen in human history, where you couldn't question anything. So I have a few materials prepared I want to present, but I kind of just want to get your take, having scanned social media, and now that the dust has settled a little bit on the dissecting of the event, we're starting to get that narrative come out, and just kind of your thoughts on what you're seeing so far.
Well, again, I was expecting at some point that there'd be a full frontal assault on Israel from Mossad. I was thinking more along the lines of Epstein Island. Of course, that's still in play. It seemed like that's where it was going. I never would have anticipated it would come out of the Charlie Kirk fake assassination. So that's like a big surprise. It's very clever. So that's really what's intrigued me and caught my attention from day one. It was very strange. Greta Van Susteren was interviewing Bibi Netanyahu on Newsmax. This is the day after. This would have been Thursday. And out of the blue, she just asked him, well, I know it's absurd, but there's these internet rumors arranging that Israel was involved in the Charlie Kirk assassination. Can you address that? And that's a big bell ringing right there, because you know, the standard protocol for these things is you ignore the charge, and usually it goes away. And if it doesn't go away, then you begin to ridicule and attack. Well, this is the day after, and she made it sound as if there was this tremendous uproar, blaming Israel, when there wasn't. She created that. And then
since you said that, Mike,
Yeah.
I happen to have that clip ready. So since you said that, let's go ahead and run that, because that was actually one of the first points. As per usual, we're on the same page. I wanted to bring up. You're exactly right. This is the day after.
You go. I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second. But I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing it's not only insane, I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that. They just found the perpetrator. They'll get to the bottom of this. But they go, they have no limits. When you hate Jews, when you hate the Jewish state, you're willing to say anything and promote all these absurd rumors. And by the way, they're willing to kill us all the time. I mean, that's what they're doing. And over the centuries, when Jews, especially in the Middle Ages, the horrific Middle Ages, the worst things were said about Jews you couldn't possibly believe. We were poisoning the wells. We were drinking the blood of Christian children. You name it. I mean, these things, that continued actually up to the Holocaust. The Nazis said the same thing. We're carrying vermin were spreading disease, and people believed it. And every time they believed it, this was a prelude to a greater and greater massacre, culminating with the worst massacre of them all, the Holocaust. Well, since then, we've learned, A, when people spread these lies about us, prepare yourself for the assault. And, they're trying to delegitimize the state of Israel. Charlie Kirk said to me that, he wrote me this detailed letter, you have to fight the slander. These untruths, these vilifications have consequences. And he was right.
We'll get to the Charlie Kirk piece of that with Netanyahu in a minute. But since you brought it up, Mike, perfect setup.
He just gave a shit ton of publicity to the assertion. I mean, can you imagine if I came on the show and said, hey, Dave, I know it's absurd, but people say that you kill little puppies for fun. I don't believe it. Can you address that? Have I done you any favors if I were to say that? You'd be like, Mike, what are you doing? What the fuck is that?
Right.
And that's precisely what just happened. So it's a setup on both ends, on Greta and so-called Bibi Netanyahu. And that there is that really led me to believe. I don't believe until it happens, but that and then so many other instances. The ADL, Anti-Defamation League, which I believe now is the QDL, came out with a statement condemning the Charlie Kirk conspiracy. I mean, it's not as if this is on the lips of every normie in America, maybe just in our circle on the manosphere. So why are you addressing it? Now it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. You're feeding the rumor. And since that time, I mean, look who's jumped on board. Some people with enormous followings. Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Mike Flynn is hinting at it, right? And now you have this seepage into the ADL and a little bit of mainstream media. So let's see where that goes. I mean, it has to be. It's happening for a reason.
Yep.
We know it's being orchestrated by the operation. So why would they be doing it if it's not going to go anywhere?
Yeah.
So let's see, because that would really.
It's the Streisand effect. That's exactly what it is. And once again, that was another one of those things that I came across as I was flying home, and I was sitting there. I'm like, wait, what? You teed that up perfectly. So I have a few slides and a few clips I want to go through. Obviously, both of you guys jump in at any point if you want to add to it, but you just teed it up. Let me start first with, as we call him, General Laser Pointer. I'm going to put this full screen for a minute.
Yeah.
Okay. So this was this morning, right? So this is what General Flynn retweeted, re-X'd, whatever you want to call it. You can see 10:23 p.m. Excuse me, last night, 10:23 p.m. This timeline and set of statements have to be part of any serious investigation. And he tagged Bondi, Turning Point, Alex Jones, Joe Rogan. Interestingly enough, ain't that interesting, Mike? And all the usual suspects, right? And this Jackson Hinkle person made this whole list. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but you can get the idea. He put every Israeli connection to Charlie Kirk's assassination. Groomed by Israel as a teenager. He was Israel's top non-Jewish loyalist. He starts mildly criticizing Israel. He said Epstein was Mossad. He said no Iran war on behalf of Israel. He lobbied Trump against the Iran war. On and on. He said Israel had full control of Trump. He referred to Netanyahu as a bully. He feared Israel would kill him. Harrison Smith posted about Kirk's fear of Israel. On and on and on. Netanyahu offers TPUSA huge funding. He refused said funding. Zionist donors threatened to defund Turning Point. On and on and on and on. And this is General Flynn reposting this entire thing. So when I see that, I'm like, well, that just feeds into exactly what Mike King is saying. And again, guys, at full screen one more time, if you want, screen cap this. You can read it all on your own later. I'm not going to go through the whole thing for time's sake. So then I'm looking around and I start getting headlines like this on the cover of the Daily Mail. turning point. Billionaire explodes at Charlie Kirk's Israel blackmail claim after Hampton's meeting week before his assassination. Billionaire Bill Ackman has been accused by right-wing provocateur Candace Owens of staging an intervention with Charlie Kirk over his views on Israel during a private meeting weeks before the late Turning Point chief's assassination. And I'm going to get to the clip in a minute. Ackman, who is Jewish and a vocal Israel supporter, has dismissed the claims. I want to point out at the bottom that, if we're connecting all these dots on the potential operation, keep in mind, Kirk had hired Owens as his director of urban engagement in 2017. Prior to that, she was a little-known blogger. Kirk gave Owens her first megaphone, and it brought her into relevance in conservative mainstream. So that I find interesting. So now let's take a listen to some of these clips very quickly. You brought out two people, and as usual, Mike, without us even talking to each other, you named the two clips and the two bullhorns that you might expect to be involved in something like this. This is just one from earlier today. Let's take a listen to Candace. Remember, Candace Owens has been playing that role. She's one of the ones that's been calling out Israel. She's been calling out AIPAC. She's been calling out the USS Liberty. We went over that on the show a number of months ago. And I know Mark and Mike and I have theorized right on this show that if you're going to pick out these 60,000 man secret army, these central casting characters, some have to play the role of saying the unpopular things. And what I want to get to here is I'm going to show you exactly what Mike said. I'm going to show you just a circle of 3 or 4 people that we have speculated are part of this whole information control structure, all coming together to kind of execute what General Laser Pointer put out this morning. So he goes out there and says, hey, look at all this stuff. And then, at least in our world, in our theory, the way we look at it, then you get the usual suspects that are going to go out and push the narrative. And so let's start with Candace Owens.
Being contacted by a lot of people that are telling me that just within 48 hours before Charlie passed away, his top Jewish donors were pulling funding from him, demanding that Charlie take their name off of the building that they had donated to Turning Point. I guess I can figure out who that is, how many people could have donated a building. And then once Charlie was killed, they said, never mind, put it back on the building. Okay. Charlie himself had alluded to a tremendous loss of money coming in. And we'll speak about that more. More people are going to come out with information. This is all inevitable. Okay. And I'll also point you in this direction. You guys remember Bibi recently was on a PR blitz, despite the fact that he was fighting this 96,000 front war because Israel didn't do nothing. Okay. He was doing a ton of podcasts in America. He went on to Patrick Bet-David's podcast. He went on to Brennan Tatum's podcast. He went on to the Nelk Boys podcast. Anybody find it weird he didn't do Charlie Kirk's show? Homie very quickly told us that Charlie was penning love letters to him in May. I just love you so much. It's amazing. They were so close. The boys just hits him up like, hey, I know we're fighting this 97,000 front war because we're always the victims, but do you want to just come and maybe stay at my place for the weekend here in Israel? Like, that's the vibe that Bibi was rushing to present to the media. So why didn't he do Charlie Kirk's show? I'll leave it as a question for you guys. Common sense, okay? I don't like small lies. And remember, Bibi started this. I am responding to his shamelessness, shameless misrepresentation of what Charlie was going through and what Charlie was saying. Because, and I want to be clear, to me right now, it feels, and I'm using a corporate term here, a bit like a hostile takeover, okay? Charlie builds the company organically on the basis of Charlie and Charlie's honest ideas. Suddenly, that company's got a lot of money, and Charlie's honest ideas are starting to change or maybe add more color. And now he's getting financial threats. He's being called names. He increasingly, he's being told who and what he's allowed to speak to, and he's taking a stance. He's taking a stand privately up to these people, and then it doesn't matter anymore because Charlie's dead, and those very same people who were pressing him are now doing, like, very quickly trying to set in stone that, oh, Charlie, essentially the energy is Charlie died for Israel. He's just one of us. Nobody ask any more questions. That is literally untrue, and we're not going to allow it. Okay.
Anything you guys want to add before I keep going?
You know, again, on Sunday, I kind of went into this. And it's a discussion, you know, a lot of what I discussed had to do with, as I've discussed many times, people starting to work together instead of being divided as we have been, and religion being the great divider. But people, and especially, you know, you listen to what Bibi had to say, and he played the same old tune again. And I happened to run into a guy last week I had a long conversation with, whose father was a captain during World War II, tank commander, and had freed a couple of the camps. And we had the discussion about this. And we both went over the whole thing about, you know, since the war, this whole discussion has been about, when you talk about the Holocaust, it's just about the Jews. When there were millions of other people, Christians, priests, gays, handicapped, mentally retarded, just all of these, so many Polish people, et cetera, that were just persecuted by the Nazis and thrown in these camps and executed. But for whatever reason, and I guess that was part of the whole Rothschild plan with the creation of Israel to begin with, as a Jewish state, was to create that atmosphere of, you know, the Holocaust was all about the Jews. Look what they did to the Jews, and this has been going on forever. But the Jews have to start taking accountability for themselves. And, you know, even when you think about, you know, you and I, Dave, and well, Mike too, because you're in New Jersey, but you're a New Yorker. And you look at a guy like Madman over there running for mayor. And here's a guy who is just, you know, might as well be Rashida Tlaib, you know, with his feelings and this and that and the other. And all of New York's Jewish population is backing this guy. You have to accept responsibility for your own things and what you're doing to yourself. What's happened with Israel and what's happened with all governments across the world, every secret organization, your CIA, your Mossad, your MI6, et cetera, these aren't the people, and they don't represent the people. The secret groups that work almost against the government, but doing the beck and call of others. And everybody's got to stand up and start to take responsibility for stuff. And that includes the Jewish population, not just here, but in Israel. And well, in Israel, they pretty well stood up because they've just been protesting.
Yeah, they hate them over there.
Yeah, and have for a long time. But this is an ongoing thing, and it's got to stop. It's got to stop, and people have to start accepting responsibility for their own. They have to start taking their own to task and get beyond this, and not, you know, rely on, oh, it's racism, it's anti-Semitism, it's this, that, or the otherism. It just doesn't play anymore and doesn't move us forward anymore. So people have to start taking that step and start realizing, you know, okay, these wrongs have been done. Whether they've been done by the people or they've been done by their governments, these wrongs have to be realized and admitted to. And we have to get past them and make sure this never happens again. You know, the famous line from the Holocaust, never forget, never again. We've been going through never again for decades already, culminating in the COVID scam. And what's going on, no, I don't think most of that is real, but what's going on with the invasion of Gaza and this and that and the other. What happened in Kosovo back in the 90s, et cetera, et cetera. These are all Holocausts. And these are all people going against, you know, other religions, what happened in Northern Ireland. All these things have got to stop, and people have to start taking their own to task.
Well said, man. But to your point, right? The question becomes, how do you do that when the deep state side of Israel, amongst others, have put up the greatest smokescreen ever? You kind of just described it, right? By focusing on that and that therefore that line, you're not allowed to talk about it. Well, what I think you're going to see from the rest of this is the only way that people are going to be able to stand up is by understanding what we all do, right? The separation of which, I mean, look, can we all agree that the concept of a deep state in this country was for most people a conspiracy theory maybe 5 years ago, and now I would say most people, whether they want to admit it or not, they see it. Well, we have to do the same thing over there, right? So if you listen to what Candace is saying, and you look at things like this going up, right? Ben Shapiro, who I'm sorry, but not going to get on board with anything he does. This is just somebody putting out Ben Shapiro's donation of $1 million is why they killed Charlie, and now Turning Point USA remains Zionist, and Charlie was against it. Ben supports it, and now you can bet Turning Point USA will push for war with Iran. Ben is a Mossad parasite. This is a hostile takeover. Okay. Keyword Mossad, right? Like the reason I posted that is because that guy's not saying Jewish. He's not even saying really Israel. He's saying the key word, which is Mossad. And now the uncomfortable conversation that we've never been allowed to have is exactly what that person described. That's what Mossad does. They moved into our government. They moved into our sports teams. They moved into Hollywood, moved into our media. And I believe what they're trying to demonstrate to people is how this might look in real time. How it might look in real time if you take somebody out that wasn't a Mossad puppet, and how you might take over his organization. Now we all know that's never going to happen, but this is where we always separate. People get frustrated. Well, are people going to know if Charlie wasn't really killed? Are people going to know? No, they're not going to know. That's probably going to be something that won't come out until all three of us are dead 3 times over. You need that group of people to be in this matrix, if you will, that the White Hats have created, and let them start to see it. Oh my God, look what's happening. Don't be surprised if you see some things coming out about Turning Point that maybe we don't like on the surface, because that's going to teach people perhaps how an infiltration might look like in real time. Can't tell the people, you got to show them. So I thought that was an interesting thing. Now, Mike, you mentioned 2 people. You mentioned Candace Owens. You mentioned Tucker Carlson. Well, who is the other person that came out today? Might have been yesterday. And he's going out and debunking the notion that Charlie Kirk and Netanyahu were this buddy group, as most people would like you to think. Let's take a listen to Tucker Carlson.
I don't like Bibi Netanyahu, and he said that to me many times, and he said it to people around him many times. He felt that Bibi Netanyahu was a very destructive force. He was appalled by what was happening in Gaza. He was, above all, resentful that he believed Netanyahu was using the United States to prosecute his wars for the benefit of his country, and that it was shameful and embarrassing and bad for the United States, and he resented it. Didn't hate Netanyahu. He wasn't out there with a placard saying that, but he certainly expressed that to me and a lot of other people. And there's no question that Bibi's defenders on the internet will call me a liar or a kook, but that's a fact. And enough text messages exist that I think it can probably be verified in pretty short order. Not that it needs to be, because that is true. Shortly after that speech, there was a very intense attack on Charlie, and to some extent on me, not that I really noticed. But on him, I have no donors. He had $100 million worth of donors. And so, because he was involved in a different project from just yapping on the internet, which is what I do for a living, he was dependent to a great extent on his donors, of course. It's a nonprofit. And they went after him and tormented him. Not all, of course. Many were supportive, but The ones who were offended by my speech, and there was a small, very intense group who were, tormented Charlie Kirk until the day he died.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
So we're building the case now, right? Building the case as to not only it's easy to sit there and just go and tell people, Israel killed Charlie Kirk. That's where we're going. But the bigger question starts to become from the fifth generation warfare standpoint that Boone Cutler pointed to, top of the show. Why? They're educating people in real time, Mike.
Yeah, and I also think they're going to stage a misdirection of the investigation. It seems like Kash Patel is being framed as this incompetent boob who doesn't want to do his job. Maybe they have something on him. That goes back to the Epstein cover-up with Bondi and Epstein. And they might go in the same direction with this and say, yeah, nothing to see here, but, a left-winger. And maybe he had some left-wing friends radicalized. So maybe the idea then is to say, no, wait a minute, something deeper. Because it just struck me. I'm just seeing the same behavior patterns regarding Patel and his covering up, staged, of course, his covering up of the Epstein scandal. Now he appears to be going the same direction with this. Maybe that's the storyline. What dirt do they have on Kash Patel? Or maybe Kash Patel has been scripted all along to be a fall guy. Remember, Q posted one line, Kash Patel, many years ago. Nobody
to remember.
Who the hell is Kash Patel? So one thing we knew, even at that time, whoever he is, he's destined for great things. And we thought it was going to be him going into the FBI and cleaning house. Apparently, it's the opposite. So maybe he's being scripted to be a villain, or maybe just a sympathetic victim of some sort of blackmail or something. There's something going on with that storyline. You remember the images of Kash Patel when he's doing that press conference and he's all bug-eyed, like he's frightened.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all play acting. Bongino the same way. So I'm expecting them to the script writers to write into the movie a cover-up of this fake assassination. And that's really going to get people agitated because everybody's still pissed off about the Epstein cover-up. Now you're covering up the assassination. Who's behind this? So I just sense the drama and the tension heading in that direction. I'm not promising anything, but I think you'll agree with me. It just seems that way, doesn't it?
Mike, I love where your mind goes, and no one's going to believe we didn't coordinate this because I have a clip that's going to point to that. And as you mentioned that, isn't it interesting? Who is on all the other crap going on the news today? Anyone notice who was on the stand today in Congress about the Epstein files?
Yeah.
Oh, that would be Kash Patel.
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? Kash Patel was getting grilled on the Hill today, and I have a clip I'm going to show in a minute, but I got one more slide.
Yeah.
So everyone hold that thought for a minute, because first of all, I want to just point out that keep in mind, all of this stuff is happening. Okay. Regardless of whether, again, file away for a minute what you believe about Charlie Kirk. Doesn't matter. That's why we're here to focus on the narrative. The narrative that's being deployed of Mossad, Israel, media control, AIPAC, all these other things is all happening right in time for all this to take place. These are all the depositions that are about to start to take place on the 30th regarding the Epstein case. Eric Holder, Merrick Garland, Comey, Clinton, Acosta, Lynch, Mueller, Barr, Sessions, Gonzalez, Maxwell, and right at the bottom, who is in the chair today? Kash Patel. Ain't that interesting? So I'm going to come back to Patel in a minute with the Epstein files, but to Mike teed up the whole thing perfectly. And like I said, we didn't plan it this way. So we showed you Candace Owens. We showed you Charlie Kirk. Now think of some of the other names that are the usual suspects that are willing to go out there and say the difficult things. And they all coordinated on this one slide. So we start with, if you look at the very top, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the one that reposted this. And we certainly know MTG does not hold back. All right. And if you go all the way over to the bottom left, you'll also notice this is all one Marjorie Taylor Greene post. She posted it at, of course, exactly 8:17 this morning on the 17th. Maybe that's a coincidence. I don't know. But she reposted Matt Gaetz. And Matt Gaetz is reposting Tucker Carlson. And what Tucker Carlson is saying, Tucker Carlson said that Charlie Kirk told him at a TPUSA summit to highlight Epstein's connections to Mossad, distinguishing between Netanyahu and the state of Israel. Important point there. Carlson claimed that Kirk hated Netanyahu and his war against Gaza despite loving Israel. It's the clip we just showed you. And Matt Gaetz put this up and said, I have personal knowledge as to many of the claims that Tucker is making are true. They are 100% true. And then Marjorie Taylor Greene comes in and says, Kirk invited me to AmFest. This is after I called for AIPAC to register under the FARA Act and said that nuclear armed secular government Israel was committing genocide in Gaza and killing innocent children, Christians, and people. He asked if I wanted to debate about AIPAC, but made it clear not against him. He said, we, Turning Point USA, would do whatever I want on the issue. So Kirk was saying, you want to talk about AIPAC? Let's do it. And she wrote, if you know who to believe between Bibi Netanyahu, a foreign country's leader, or Charlie's personal friends, Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, here are all the people that Mike just laid, posting my last text message with Charlie. Believe Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson. And there she posted it, a text between her and Charlie Kirk. You should speak at AmFest. Would you be able to do a debate about AIPAC, etc.? Not with me, no pressure. We'll do whatever you want. So, Mike, you can tell the audience we didn't plan this, but you started this whole thing by laying out a potential narrative scenario using this typical same people that we always talk about. And here you have, after General Laser Pointer comes out and says, look at all this Israel stuff last night.
Yeah.
Then this morning you get Marjorie Taylor Greene, Matt Gaetz, and Tucker Carlson all colluding by accident, I'm sure, on this narrative deployment. You can't make it up.
And you know what's interesting about these names? Because I wanted to make this point. I've been jotting them down as we've been speaking. As a perfect lead-in. But what do Candace Owens, Charlie Kirk, General Flynn, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and Matt Gaetz? They all have something in common regarding Israel. That they all started as passionately, unequivocally pro-Israel. You can go back and see all their old posts and writings. Played the same game as Trump did. Okay? That makes the current rug pull. And it's not a poll yet, but they're tugging on it. All the more effective. The pro-Israel credentials of all the people I just named are impeccable. Can't nobody say, oh, these are anti-Semites. All right? That's not by accident. That's how this thing was cultivated from the very beginning. How do you approach a dangerous animal? The Q post, right? You enter through the front door, frontal assault? No. This is how you do it. And I think Charlie Kirk was playing these people all along.
Yep.
Well, they all were. They all were. And that was the only way to do it. So they created this false alliance, even on a military intelligence level, that we're in this together, BB. It's us against the Soros crowd, those globalists. And all the while, they were plotting how to pull the rug out from both of them, to take down the Soros faction and the Israel First Zionist faction, which are not the same and are actually often at odds. And this worked in our favor because the operation was able to play both sides against each other. So that's like a little subtlety about the power elite that not everybody's aware of. A globalist is not necessarily a Zionist. Oftentimes they hate each other.
That's right.
Matter of fact, years ago when the Prime Minister of Israel, Labor Party, lefty globalist Rabin. Okay. The Likud crowd was pissed off at him because he's making deals with the Palestinians and Clinton. Who murdered Rabin? Wasn't a right-wing guy. Wasn't a Muslim. No, it was Likud Zionist. So that contrast, that conflict is very real. It's almost like, within the broader Cosa Nostra mafia, how the Italian crime families used to go at it. That's how it is with these elements. And what the Q operation did is, in order to take down the Israeli mafia, is they got in bed with them, leading them to think we're on the same side against these Soros Marxists. But in reality, they're going to take them out all along, and we're seeing that now.
Yep.
Because they're all flipping on Israel at the perfect opportune moment.
Yep. One more little data point I want to throw up that we also saw today, and this one's very interesting. We have the chief rabbi, David Yosef of Israel, sending a condolence letter to Charlie Kirk's family.
Yeah.
There's a problem with this letter, and I've blown it up in the middle. It's dated September 2nd, 2025. And I just want to show people, because we have to be thorough about this. Let's go to their page right now. This is the Israel Heritage Foundation, and I'm just going to go and do a word search here. I'm going to type in Kirk, enter, and here is the letter. And as you can see, it is still dated September 2nd. So did he mean to put September 12th? Possibly. Again, I personally, I'm not that important in the world, but if I made that kind of mistake on a condolence letter, I'd make sure I go fix it.
Yeah.
And they haven't. And then the last thing I'll show, and we could do a whole lot on this, but again, we're limited on time here. Keep in mind that both Donald Trump and hat tip to Jordan Clark, he's the one I saw that reposted this. Both Donald Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu posted about Charlie Kirk at exactly the same time, 3:02 p.m.
Yeah.
And isn't that an interesting time in the Q drops? We have the national security briefing at 3:02 a.m. We had back in drop 2491. Q is highlighting as of 3:02 p.m. QAnon is now number 2 attacked entity in the world. I don't think any of that's a coincidence either.
Yeah.
And then the last thing I want to show, because I do want to get, obviously, we do have 2 of Mike's stories to get into tonight, but I thought this is, Mike, I thought this is a great discussion. But to tack on to what you were saying about where I think it's going with Cash, I think you're 100% right. Whether or not he's going to be a fall guy or he's just lying in wait for some reason. And I'm guessing Joe and I'll probably get to more of this on the roundtable tomorrow, or maybe the D class on Saturday. There was a lot that came out of this hearing today with Cash that painted him as covering things up with the Epstein file. There are a lot of things coming out, as you said, Mike, with relation to Charlie Kirk that is starting to, there is a cover up. And I agree with you. I think it's by design. But this is just one little clip, a little preview, if you will. I'm sure you guys will be seeing a lot of this in the coming days since this took place today, of Thomas Massey laying into Charlie Kirk to Kash Patel regarding the Epstein files.
According to the transcript, there is no credible information that he trafficked them to anyone else. According to victims who cooperated with the FBI in that investigation, these documents in FBI possession, your possession, detail at least 20 men, including Mr. Jess Staley, CEO of Barclays Bank, who Jeffrey Epstein trafficked victims to. That list also includes at least 19 other individuals, one Hollywood producer worth a few $100 million, one royal prince, one high-profile individual in the music industry, one very prominent banker, one high-profile government official, one high-profile former politician, one owner of a car company in Italy, one rock star, one magician, at least 6 billionaires, including a billionaire from Canada.
Yeah.
I believe your intuition might be right, Mike.
Yeah. Cash, the guy who's going to tear down the house, clean out everything, all of a sudden turns into a pussycat, right? Yeah. That's the storyline to watch.
Right. And I just have to remind people, don't this is Abs and Stormy were talking about this last night. I think everyone needs to be very careful. I think we've all learned this by now. Not to, because Mike, I agree with your line of logic and reasoning. Like right now, that's the way it's headed. But that doesn't mean I'm going to sit there and start jumping ship on Cash. Like there's no ship to jump off of. He's
Right.
He's a
Right.
character. He is a character in this show, and that could change tomorrow. He could turn around tomorrow and go full on Genghis Khan and rip the whole damn thing down. Because maybe it would be unveiled that he had a gun to his head and they got the guy with the gun. We have to just be careful about getting, I think if these different ops that we've been forced to live through, depending on how much of an op you believe they are or not, it's all taught us the discernment to learn that we cannot get too emotionally tied to any one of these people in a good or a bad way. Because I'm going to take a line out of Stormy Patriot Joe's book. However the script is written for that character is how it's going to go.
That's right.
That's it.
Yeah, you ever go to a Broadway play and there's all sorts of characters and protagonist, antagonist, good guy, bad guy, murderer, and you're all into it, and the subconscious mind, emotionally, you really don't discern between reality and a show once you're into it. Then at the end of the Broadway show, everybody comes out, takes a bow, even the murderer, and you're clapping.
Right.
You have that good feeling again. But I see that a lot in our community. People will they'll go off on a tangent and say, "Oh, that Cash Patel's useless," or Jeff Sessions, he's not doing nothing. Like, no, what part of this is a movie do you not understand? Everybody is a character, and the guys you ought to be applauding the loudest for are indeed the villains, because that's the best acting of all. And like Joe Biden, whoever he is, I've always said he deserves an Oscar and a Medal of Honor. And Patel, he's playing his role flawlessly. He just looks like a spanked ass. He looks like a man. He's playing the role of somebody who's terrified of something, not really someone who's like corrupt and part of the system, but somebody that is under duress, is being blackmailed. That's the vibe I'm getting as to where they're going with this script. But
and how brilliant would it be if we all thought that they were going to come in and simply expose the blackmail? But doesn't it become so much more brilliant if they actually replay the blackmail in real time right in front of us and then they expose it?
Yeah, right.
Wow.
He cannot expose the blackmail because he's being blackmailed.
Right.
Yeah. So. But now why are they going through all these links? It's not for entertainment purposes. Because when you think of it, all of it really serves to enhance the film and build tension. It's all about tension and interest in what's going on. So then when the grand finale comes, everything clicks and makes sense. So that's the reason. It's just like a movie. If you want to hold someone's attention and make an impact on them, you put in all these bizarre twists and turns. That's why they're doing it. They're not just doing it to show off their literary prowess. You know what I mean?
And if you don't think it's working, and this is a small data point, so obviously can't completely go by this, but I had a chance to talk to two people I know yesterday. One is 29, one is 24. And both of them, well, one in particular said, first of all, the interesting thing he said, he's like, I didn't really know who Charlie Kirk was, but something weird happened. He goes, my feed started getting flooded with his clips 3 days before he was shot. So that to me was very interesting.
Wow.
Oh yeah. He said, my Instagram, my TikTok was flooded with Charlie Kirk stuff, and I had never heard of him. That was interesting. Another woman I know, 24, she started talking about it, and I said, if you don't mind, can I ask you a question? She said, yeah. I said, do you have and she's a Trump person. I said, do you have like a new interest in this guy? She said, yeah. I said, do your friends have a new interest in him? Yes. Are you seeing all your friends getting really up in arms about somebody they might not have ever heard of before? And she said, absolutely. So take that for what it's worth. But for me, that's a microcosm of exactly why we are where we are right now.
Right. And I'll chat with some normies from time to time that I just come into contact with, local deli, barber shop, whatever. And that's the sense I'm getting, that they're starting to ask questions, or they're starting to feel uncomfortable about certain things, So
I think that all goes back to what we started talking about, in the sense that, there's, no matter who you are, unless you're really totally screwed up, there has to be a sense of outrage in normal people over the reaction by some of the quote unquote normies and pundits who reacted badly, to be nice about it. So, people are starting to see, and that was the purpose of doing what they did the way they did it. That's been the purpose of this whole thing, is to wake people up. You can't tell them, you got to show them. And if this doesn't show which way the MSM and some of the people who represent our country, et cetera, act and portray themselves, not a good thing. And it is waking up a lot of people.
Yeah.
Absolutely right. All right, let's pivot and get into the other two pieces we have. Something tells me we're probably going to end up coming back around and talking about this story again.
Yeah.
And I hope at least people. Again, I have to really thank Mike King, because I've said this for over a year. Mike King is the one I know, and I really haven't heard of anyone else taking credit for it, that really came out and pushed that article about the 60,000 man secret army. And this was over a year and a half ago. And I remember when we went through it together on the air, I said, as my mind was melting, I said, every Anon should be reading this 17 times, because when you talk about full control, it probably doesn't make any sense to talk about some of this stuff being staged until you read that. And then that gives you every possible understanding how even the New York Giants football game you could have on your television right now, they could pretty much fill that stadium and not one of them would be a real person.
Yeah.
So again, to me, that's the framework you need to at least have. It doesn't mean you have to think everything's fake, but it will certainly give you a good understanding of at least why some of us look at things the way we do. That's your sauce right there.
Yeah. Well, what it does is it will inoculate you against the pitfalls of incredulity fallacy, which is like one of the first reactions people will often have to something that sounds really absurd on its face. Oh, there's no way that could happen. Stop. Go back to that article. Yeah, 60,000 men, intelligence operatives operating under strict military discipline, and it's probably a whole lot more than 60,000. I have reason to believe. So as far as anything is possible. It doesn't mean that it happened that way, but get it out of your mind that, oh, that's crazy. They can never pull that off. Oh, yes, they can.
And strangely enough, at this point in the whole thing, as far as we've gone, a good friend of mine the other day, who's fairly awake, texted me out of the blue and said, "What is the 60,000 man army?"
Yeah.
And my response immediately was, "Seriously?" And he didn't know. He said yes, and I texted him back. I said, "Go on to Google, call up NewsTreason, type in 60,000 man secret army, and read." Yeah.
Well,
that's like a chapter in my book here, along with many other things. But this is like the little Bible here. 1 hour read, The Secret Plan to Save Humanity. You can get this at my on Amazon. My Amazon author page is Mike S. King. But that was really the last piece of the puzzle I needed to put this book together, because it really explains the how. I mean, I knew the how. As a matter of fact, the reason I stumbled across it is because I was researching, trying to find out how many intelligence assets that each of the military branches have under their command. They all have intelligence. There's Marine intelligence, Air Force intelligence, Naval, staggering numbers. And in the process, I just stumbled across this on the internet. But this really killed it, because this here, it says it's secretive. And then Newsweek, they utilized the FOIA, Freedom of Information Act, to get all this information. And they even said in their article that we were only able to obtain that which was not classified. Classified info is not subject to FOIA. So it could be even more. Plus the standard. This does not include the standard intelligence operatives. Even the state National Guards have intelligence units. Did you know that? Okay. And then you take that and then you combine it with foreign militaries. God, we don't know what's real.
That's right.
And bearing in mind the fact that Newsweek ain't exactly your right-wing periodical.
Yeah.
So
no, Newsweek's been used as one of the, Mike knows this, as one of the biggest breadcrumb. Yeah. And what day did they release that article? May 17th, 2021. And a shameless plug, I am going to post it as a standalone video. Mike, I can't wait to send this to you. What we did on Saturday, I'm very proud of this. I know Joe is too. I actually took, Mike, that 60,000 man secret army article and I loaded it into Chat GPT. And I actually did, it's about an hour long, so I'll post it as a standalone. It's on Saturday's D class.
Yeah.
I actually used Chat GPT to explain how the capabilities of that service, of that military operation, could be used to fabricate a character. For the purpose of this, let's call him Chad Merck. We'll call him that. How they could create a character 10 years ago with the plan of having him build a grassroots movement, and at the end of it being assassinated to become a martyr. And it actually used all the data and literally laid out a timeline where they would insert birth certificates, where they would change identities, all of that. Pretty incredible stuff. So again, kudos to you for digging that one out, because I think it's one of the most important pieces of what we do, especially at this stage of the game. So we're going to pivot here and move on to another piece of current event from realnewsandhistory.com. Allow me, if you guys would, to take 1 minute here and go to our two sponsors for the night. And then we're going to jump into another storyline that we've been following since Trump came in and started. It seems like a year ago that Doge was uncovering all this stuff and teaching the world about NGOs and USAID and all these different things. And we've kind of been following this storyline that's been going on, especially since Trump came back, about how they're slowly demonstrating to the public how that dark money was used to, I hate to keep using the word, stage so many of these protests that have been happening. And there's a piece of that that's going on right now that Mike wrote about. So that's what we're going to do when we come back. I'm going to first go to our friends over at the Wellness Company. And as always, we thank them for their support. Have you ever checked the ingredients in your toothpaste? Most toothpastes on the market are filled with harsh chemicals and additives like triclosan, sulfites, and titanium dioxide, which can pose risks with long-term use. You can use them every day hoping for a healthier smile, but end up with irritated gums, sensitive teeth, and sketchy chemicals. It's time to swap the chemicals out for peptides. Introducing Smile Peptide Toothpaste from the Wellness Company, a breakthrough peptide paste designed to help reverse gum loss through mouth regeneration. Formulated with active peptides to support gum regrowth, nanohydroxyapatite to strengthen while remineralizing teeth, and PAP Plus to gently whiten without sensitivity. Smile helps you build a truly healthy mouth while staying fluoride-free. Ready to make the switch? Get 10% off plus free shipping. Head to twc.health/channel17 and use code channel17 to save 10% off plus free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/channel17 and use code channel17 to save 10% off plus free shipping. Take action today for a healthier tomorrow. And our thanks to the Wellness Company. As a reminder that Channel 17 promo code is good for anything on that website. And our second and final sponsor tonight is our friends over at 17 Switch. And I do want to give a special shout out to the over 600 people from this community that have now made the switch and taken those dollars away from those 10 cabal companies that control everything in the supermarket. We're going to hear from them. And when we come back, we're going to jump into Mike's presentation for the night. Are you sick of being lied to? Are you fed up with giving your money to the same companies that have used deception to poison us and our families for decades? The same 10 companies that control nearly everything that you buy every month in the supermarkets, pharmacies, and big box stores? Let's face it, we've been funding our own demise. We have been funding the companies that hate us and empowering the companies that have been trying to harm our families $1 at a time. Wouldn't you rather support a privately owned, patriot-friendly company that makes everything here in the United States and supports American jobs? A company that was just named by the USA Today as one of the most trusted brands in the United States for 2025. And I can promise you, the legacy media wasn't happy about that one. Are you interested in getting cleaner, safer, and healthier products for you and your family from a company you can trust? I'm here to tell you there is a better, more patriotic way to shop. Are you currently buying things like this? I know we all do. These are just a few of the items that we buy for our home, personal, and food needs every single month, and a handful of the nearly 500 clean and safe products that you can find at 17switch.com. Products that support a healthier, cleaner, and safer lifestyle for you and your family at a price that everybody can afford. Products that are made right here in the USA and support American workers. Products that are made by people that I trust. So what if we all banded together? What if we all started switching away from the big conglomerates that wish to do us harm, the same ones that have continually demonstrated that they don't have our best interests in mind, the same companies that continue to support the legacy media and the politicians that have lied to all of us for decades? Let's start making a change right now and right in our own homes. So please, go to 17 Switch, get the information, get empowered, learn how it can make your home a cleaner, safer, and healthier place, and learn how we can all band together to make a difference to get the truth out and to defund the cabal. And our thanks to 17 Switch. I just wanted to highlight this one comment here. Here's somebody, John Thor, 13. I did the switch using the Absolute Storm code. Highly recommend the products. Get almost everything replaced in my home and trying new stuff every month. That's awesome. Doesn't matter what code you use. If you're taking money away from those companies, that's a win for all of us. So thank you for sharing that. And by the way, last housekeeping item, it's either going to be next week or the week after. Mike and I have to get together on this, but just as a reminder, we did decide that based on popular demand, we are going to be doing once a month or about there, Mike King open lines on a Wednesday night. So stay tuned for social media for that. But we figure a good way to kind of change it up once a month is to do a Mike King version of open lines where you guys will have the chance to call in and bounce your history questions off of Mike. I see so many amazing questions. I get a lot of emails too. What does Mike think about this? What does Mike think about that? So keep in mind, we are going to do that. I have to make one upgrade to the StreamYard software here, but either next week or the week after, we're going to launch that. So I know I'm looking forward to it. So just wanted to remind everyone about that. So, all right, let's, I don't know, Mike, are you ready for the hot seat with that?
Oh, yeah. Ask me anything.
All right. There it is. You guys heard it. All right. So this is, we're going back now to realnewsandhistory.com. And this one is titled Trump to Crack Down with a Q on Marxist Funding from realnewsandhistory.com. Have at it, Mike.
Okay. Real quick, before we go any further, I wanted to announce the winners from that drawing because last week was not a live show. The prior week, I had the offer. Anybody who purchased Crash Course 9/11 Inside Job on Amazon, you send me a proof of purchase, I'll enter you into the drawing to win a free book autographed by yours truly. Okay? Has to be a soft cover, not the hardcover books. So I'm just going to read the initials. I'm not going to give the people's names here. GC of Ohio. By the way, I emailed these people already. They might have checked your email, or hopefully you're seeing it. MP of Arizona and CC of Oregon. Congratulations. You won a free book of your choice. You go to realnewsandhistory.com at the book section, and choose any of those books, but not the hardcover ones, just anything that softcover version. And that's it. I'll put my John Hancock on it and ship it off to you. Thanks for your. That went off pretty well. A lot of people had interest in the
awesome.
book this time of year.
Awesome.
Yeah. And those of you who did not enter, you still win just by getting this book. It's just $14. Crash Course 9/11 Inside Job. Our friend Bibi Netanyahu, his fingerprints are all over this too. So
I have my copy sitting right here. I guess I see, guys. We don't rig things because I if you guys remember, I ordered it on the air that night and I didn't win. So congratulations, everybody. That's awesome. All right, let's jump into it.
All right. Trump to crack with a Q down on Marxist funding. So this aligns with some of the stuff we're talking about tonight, and I just saw in the comments. But that's front page right there, New York Times, Q York Times. And again, yet again, it's just another case. The New York Times reporting what is a great victory for us, yet doing it with neutral, objective tone, which from the perspective of the normies and the libtards who read the New York Times can only be considered as a black pill. That's what's really amazing about all that is Times reporting. They're just giving the facts, and it's just day after day winning. Okay? They just imagine how demoralized these people are by this time. But there it is right on the front page. White House threatens a crackdown on the far left in wake of Kirk death, claiming a network is behind the violence. So let's get into this here and see the latest Trump offensive. I'm going to quote from the article here. President Trump threatened on Monday to unleash the power of the federal government to punish a, quote, left-wing network that funds and incites violence, seizing on Charlie Kirk's assassination, etc. Mr. Trump said that he would like to designate the loosely affiliated group of far-left anti-fascism activists known as Antifa as domestic terrorists and bring racketeering cases against people funding protests. We have some pretty radical groups. They got away with murder. He added that he was talking to the Attorney General about bringing charges under the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations Act, that's RICO, against some of the people you've been reading about that have been putting up millions and millions of dollars for agitation. Now, this is very significant in a couple of ways. First of all, RICO is no joke. It was designed in the early 70s specifically to go after the mafia. It was so hard to bring down the Sicilian mafia, the Italian mafia back in those days. Okay, but what RICO does is it facilitated that process. They could go after individuals solely because they're linked to the organization. If the organization itself is deemed, so it made it a lot harder for them to like play those legalistic games and hide from justice. So it's a tremendous tool specifically created to target criminal organizations. You designate the organization as a criminal, it facilitates the ability of the government to go after each of the individuals involved. That's the significance of RICO. That's huge. It tells you right there. There's Trump's quote. The people who've been putting up millions and millions of dollars, they're not interested in these punks in the street. They're nobody. They're nothing in the grand scheme of things. I call those the Reds in the streets. This goes after the Reds in the suites. The George Soros, the Mike Bloomberg, etc. The big boys. They're all gone, by the way. But this is just for reenactment purposes. Okay? This is no joke. This is FAFO right here, big time. Okay. What do we got here in the next panel here? Okay. Well, I make the point in the Times that who would have thought that the day would come when you use something like RICO to go after Antifa and, more importantly, its funders? Nobody could have foreseen something like that, except our friend Q. There you go. Post number 12. This is only on the third day that he commenced posting, very, very early on. There it is. Military intelligence referenced above is the absolute biggest drop on this board, blah, blah. Okay, now think about why Antifa plays right into the plan. Always ahead. Good guys are winning. Telling you right there. We're going after Antifa. And then it's asking you, why are we doing that? How does that fit into the plan? Again, they don't care about the punks in the street. Most of them are paid. No, because the apparatus above them, that's where the action is. It's essentially telling you right there in 2017. And then you get a headline like that today in the New York Times, following on the heels of the Charlie Kirk assassination fake, of course, as a pretext. So that's what? That's proof number 1,717. And by the way, Q mentions Antifa 67 times. So it's a very key element of the operation because of what it leads to. Q Post 4766, 2020, talks about the designation of the KKK and Antifa as terror organizations. See, once you do that, now you're under RICO. Because you can't just say, well, they're leftists and they're nasty and they say bad things and they scare people, therefore they're a corrupt organization under RICO. No. By designating them as terrorists, you open them up to RICO. That is the financiers above it. That's why it was designated as terrorist. Democrat founded financially legally backed orgs? Question mark. Meaning these are backed by big people. There are no question marks. DA set free blockade post terrorist designation. So these DAs who continue to protect and cover up Antifa after they were designated as terrorists, they're embroiled in RICO now. You see? And one might not have put this together back then, but now you see today's article. That's why these things, you always have to keep going back. They age so well, and they constantly, with every passing day, there's a bunch of posts that become even more relevant. DA, quote, no proof individual linked to Antifa argument coming. Antifa mapping began long ago. So they have it all. They always had it all.
Yeah.
If they roll out RICO on this, the whole thing is gone. Now, is it going to go to that point? I don't know, because to me it would be kind of redundant because all these characters have been removed anyway. But nonetheless, they may still have to do this in order to dot the I's, cross the T's in terms of legality. So, but it's irrelevant whether they follow through.
That's where my mind's going with it. My mind is going to the repeats necessary.
Yes.
Because I'm so glad you put these two drops in here, because they basically telling you, look, we already did all this, and now you think about the 591,000 sealed indictments. Well, what has the playbook been since Trump comes into office? It's not just throw them up on trial. I agree with you. Probably keep your eye out for some kind. First of all, Antifa's basically been doing nothing. That alone should tell you something.
Yeah.
But yeah, keep your eye out for something happened. Antifa did it, and then that allows for the public presentation of what Mike is showing you. You should logically know already happened.
And there's our friend Georgie, the big funder of Antifa and so many other criminal activities. That post, I don't know if that's an actual Soros quote, destroying America will be the culmination of my life's work. But nonetheless, Q put it up there with his picture. Okay. Many, many mentions of George Soros. And there's another Q post, 546. Now, that's an artificially created meme. That's not a real picture, but it shows Soros shaking hands with the recently departed Jake the Snake Rothschild. A lot of them are recently departed. Jake the Snake, Sir Evelyn, and Sir Benjamin, who was only in his 50s. They've all passed away in the last few years. Interesting. And they also sold a lot of property and artwork. So That's the heart of the cabal right there. Okay, they're totally exposed by the Q posts. PSYOP, right? PSYOP. We're going to expose ourselves in a PSYOP. That's the point. We're going to tell you all these people and all these players. We're going to reveal ourselves. And I wrote in the article, in the grand scheme of things, the Reds in the streets are of little importance. Everyone knows about them already. It's the racketeering aspect of the crackdown where the real action in terms of high-profile arrests and public awakening really is. This gets into voter fraud and, who knows? It could link it to the Charlie Kirk thing. I don't know. The George Floyd riots, etc.
Yep.
You see, normies do not know about the Reds in the suites who pay for and who organize everything, from quote unquote spontaneous protests to voter fraud to assassination plots, etc. Now, if you read all my history books or follow the video series I'm doing, you clearly see that since the days of the Illuminati Masonic engineered French Revolution to the springtime of Europe tumult of 1848, to the Rothschild Schiff-funded proxy wars against Romanov Russia, to the more contemporary color revolutions worldwide, every quote-unquote spontaneous uprising or act of terror has been financed by the hidden hand which no one sees. And a lot of this stuff wasn't even known in the 19th century. Would you believe the Emperor of Austria granted titles of nobility to each of the 5 famous Rothschild sons because they gave him money to take down Napoleon? And he never suspected that the subversive revolutionary movements were funded by the same cabal. So they've always remained in the background. It's only more in recent times that people have been able to identify, well, this is the true power. Forget about the protesters and the mobs in the streets, okay? But that's what this will do if this goes forward. It will show the people who's behind the radical left that everybody knows and hates now, by the way. Because the Q operation has done a really good job with that, showing the people, especially with the recent events. So now that you've established that and you start going up the ladder, that's really going to blow people's minds. And, here's a quote. They were telling us a long time ago, and it's a shame, I think, even like many world leaders didn't listen, didn't realize this only until recent times. But this quote here at the bottom is from an 1844 book titled Coningsby, The Next Generation. And the author was Benjamin Disraeli, who 25, 30 years later would become the British Prime Minister. He was Prime Minister twice. Total Rothschild agent. Very close to the Rothschild family. But the book, I guess you could call it factional. It's fictional, but it's based on real personages. And it was understood at the time that he's writing, that Coningsby is him. He's a young, up-and-coming political person. And that a character named Sidonia is Lionel de Rothschild. So that's understood. That's not in question. And in that book, there's a dialogue between Sidonia, Rothschild, and Coningsby, Disraeli. And Sidonia is basically schooling him on how the world works. It's just amazing. It's like a duper's delight, putting the conspiracy right in her face. But Sidonia says to Coningsby, so you see, my dear Coningsby, that the world is governed by very different personages from what is imagined by those who are not behind the scenes. And this has always been the case. This is the New World Order right here. And up until now, this has just been the talk of crazy right-wing extremist conspiracy theorists, right? But now, thanks to what Trump is doing, what I think we're going with this, if we go with the RICO, this is something the whole world's going to know. Okay? So that is why Antifa is so big and was mentioned so many times. And that is the answer to Q's question. Why is Antifa so important?
Yep. Well said.
Here's some interesting Q posts. The first one there, look at the bookends. That's Nat Rothschild, great grandson of the Nathan Rothschild of London, who funded all of the Allied powers that took down Napoleon. And then on the other end of the bookend, there's Ghislaine Maxwell, child trafficker, organ thief, probably too, of Epstein's Island. All one nice little click. Image number 2. Well, we all know who that devil is on the left. It's Hillary Rotten Clinton. And that's her friend, her buddy. That's Lynn Forrester, the Rothschild. Lynn Forrester. She's from New Jersey here. She married Sir Evelyn Rothschild, second wife, and becomes known as Lady the Rothschild. So there they are, stick as thieves. And I would remind you of that Q post, which directly threatened LDR. It was a post, and the letter L was in brackets, capital. The letter D, lowercase, was in brackets, bold, and then the letter R, LDR, Lady the Rothschild. And that post said, distress calls to your family, the Rothschilds, will do you no good. We know where the family is at all times. We can hear you breathing. That is one of the most profound, I mean, if you really understand history, Q post that there is, a direct threat to the Rothschild family. Who were and she was very, very close to Hillary Clinton. And Hillary Clinton was also very close to George Soros. So this is the type of stuff that a RICO investigation has the potential of exposing for the public. And it brings to mind in the 1980s, and Mark will remember this for sure, this captivated the New York media, the Rudy Giuliani Attorney General years, where he was using RICO to go after John Gotti and all his boys. And it was like a soap opera in the media, and you had all these charts and stuff and showing you how the organization works with a vast criminal conspiracy, and it was taken down. But it made for some gripping TV, right?
Oh, hell yeah.
That's the same Rudy Giuliani who's besties with Donald Trump, by the way. So isn't that interesting? It seems like they called upon his expertise for putting this thing together, which was already put together and executed.
And there's your drop that Mike was talking about. And again, this is early on, November 13th, 2017. Distress calls to others will do you, your family, no good at this stage. We know where you, the family, are at all times. I can hear you breathing, and look at the kill brackets. LDR.
Yeah. So you talk about historic. You're talking about the family that funded the last 2 or 3 of the coalition wars to take down Napoleon and Waterloo. And after Napoleon was taken down, Nathan's brother James shows up in Paris the very next year, opens up his bank. Okay. Solomon then shows up in Naples, opens up his bank. Well, that's Karl. Solomon goes to Austria, opens up his bank. And for this great contribution to taking down Napoleon, the Emperor of Austria grants them titles of nobility. And then his direct descendants are later murdered. But they didn't know. They really didn't know back then. They didn't know what the enemy. You know, they used to think the enemy was these radicals and these leftists. Okay? Communists, Jacobins, etc. And with some big money people behind them, but visible. The big at the top, they had no clue. You know, they didn't really understand what was at the core of the Illuminati back then, and what was behind all of these revolutions. But you know, today, I guess with the benefit of modern communications technology, it's a lot easier for us to like dig on some of this stuff. But this is historic because they've been getting away with this for a quarter of a millennium, operating. I call it way above the cloud lines. Nobody sees them, and they got all these buffering labels, just levels, just like the old mafia did. Okay, so all you see is the punks in the streets and maybe their handlers, and that's it. And you think that's the extent of the operation. But no, it's the wealthiest people in the world coordinating it. And just the idea that that's going to be exposed is it's truly historic, unthinkable.
amazing.
I don't think they
It's
ever saw
amazing.
it coming. Yeah, really is.
Very quickly, I saw a few people in the chat asking, just to remind people, RICO stands for the Racketeer Influence and Corrupt Organization Act. That's what the acronym stands for.
Yeah.
I got to laugh watching this too, because when I look back at a show that I did a few months ago where I had this guy on, Adam Swart, who runs a company called Crowds on Demand. And one of the questions I asked him is, well, who pays you? You have to pay these people that you send as crowds. Who pays you? And I've never seen such tap dancing in my entire life. Never answered the question.
Wow.
And when the LA riots started, I texted him again, do you have any of your people there? Crickets.
Wow.
I want to, well, two things to add before we move on. Number one, I look at this as there's a lot of positives of this, right? But I try to, as you go through this great awakening process, and it's painful. And when I was on that trip last week, I was with a lot of people that are very much waking up, but they're not like Anon level yet.
Yeah.
But the conversations were very incredible because everyone's got the same story, whether it was 9/11 or more recently COVID, or even if it was something a couple of years ago. They talk about the pain of learning how much you've been lied to and how much is an illusion. And you can't discount that. Everyone knows that. But then when I look at stuff like this, and I've been talking with Mike King we've been talking with Mike King for well over a year about this illusion that they create in protests. Yeah. I look at the positive side of that because I say to myself, yeah, it's terrible that they were doing that. But you know what? As a 47-year-old man, where for most of my later life, there was a lot of chaos and protests. And it's simply like every time somebody said the wrong thing, everyone wanted to kill each other. You know what you realize? That the bad stuff was also all an illusion. Not that there aren't some radicals, not that there aren't some, but we're not that awful. We don't hate each other that much. We don't want to go out and hurt somebody every time someone disagrees with our feelings. They just created this matrix to make us think that. And Mike King is going through the nuts and bolts of how they did it, and now it's being taken down. And two very interesting points before we move on. If you remember, it was not even a month ago where Donald Trump started talking about Soros. I think we're going to look into Soros. Remember that?
Yeah.
Isn't that interesting? And then today is the 17th. Well, what was one of the deltas? Excuse me. What was one of the deltas just a few days ago? 9/13/2020. The United States of America will be designating Antifa as a terrorist organization. And hey, Mike, guess what happened about 37 minutes ago? He did it.
Okay.
He did it.
Right on the heels of the RICO, because you need that to go along with RICO.
Yep. So there it is. So let the fun begin. Mike, Mike, are you a Fed the way you time these articles sometimes?
I've been accused, but no.
So
I did start the doing this full time in 2013. That's kind of close, to 2011.
Oh, no. You're one of that. You're one of them, aren't you?
No. I'm clean.
You did start your website full time in 2013. That's right.
But I started TomatoBubble.com in 2007. That was just like a little fun thing endeavor. I'd throw up an article once in a while.
But see, Mike, that would be the back. That would be the cover story you
That's
would inject into the back.
And you could even go back and I'm sure they could invent like on who is the start date.
Oh, they do. We've seen them do it. We've seen them do it. All right. Before I start any more conspiracy theories, before we jump into the last piece, Mike, do me a favor, as we always do. Please tell everyone how they can support you and your work, because it seems like we do have a lot of new people here tonight, and we greatly appreciate, obviously, all the support you give here. But keep in mind, Mike King's been doing this now for going on 13 years, and as you heard, in 2013, long before it was quote unquote cool to be a conspiracy theorist, and the fact that he's made it this long on his own with his own platform, I think should speak volumes about the quality of the work he does. So I would encourage everybody that can and has the means to do so, please consider supporting his work. Mike, go ahead.
Well, there it is, realnewsandhistory.com. This is one you have to bookmark. The site is unique. It's so unique, I like to say I have my own genre. I can't say I'm the best at what I do because I'm the only one doing it. And what is it I do that's so unique that you don't see out there, at least to my knowledge? It's the fusion of history with news, because fake history is the fake news that is passed into the rearview mirror. And the more you understand the history, and mainly I write about history related to this New World Order cabal, going back a quarter millennium, 250 years. I mean, that sounds wild, doesn't it? But how did the Rothschilds make their money? Late 1700s. He had advance notice of the Battle of Waterloo. Yeah, you see this continuity. It's amazing. But it really brings history to life. If you ever thought history was boring, no, it's the greatest drama, greatest story ever told, the real history. The reason it seems boring is because they conceal it. They just give you a jumble of facts and figures and dates. They don't tell you how to put the puzzle together, because if they did, then you wouldn't be so easily bamboozled in the present day, you see. So I weaved the two together. That's my niche. And then my other unique niche is I do it in such a manner that, I mean, seriously, a 12-year-old could come up to speed on this. And I strive with everything, whether it's an article or book or even my podcast, to strike a balance between being simple but not simplistic. That's an important distinction. And it's really so easy to understand. And it just brings the modern day world into such clearer focus. And it's really entertaining. So I think you'll enjoy that. A ton of the content is free. If you want the book and PDF package, it's 34 books and booklets. That's a one-time payment of $29. And it helps continue to support my work and advertise my work, because we want to spread this, because nobody else is doing it. If you find somebody doing it better, support them. But I really do think it's important to learn history and link it to the news. I also have an Amazon page where most of my books are available, but not all of them. But most of them, you go to Amazon. My author page is Mike King, or Mike S. King. You can purchase books through Amazon. This is one every Anon should have, because it's so clear and concise. And you stack up on these because people now are having questions, especially as this Kirk thing plays out. And this really isn't for normies. They're not going to get it. But for those MAGA people in your life who are totally pro-Trump and anti-communist, and they're very concerned and scared, where's the country going? This is a great way to keep them at peace. Introduce them to the secret plan to save humanity. But you'll see all my books there at Amazon. Twitter, please follow me at Tomato Bubble. Rumble channel now. I'm doing videos. People loving my videos now. So they're like shorter history videos, trying to keep them 20, 30 minutes. But this series here, this is going to be epic when it's all done. I'm trying to do like 1 or 2 a week. I just completed episode 16. I'm going in chronological order from the very beginnings of this cabal formation, and I'm going decade by decade. I'm up to 1910 now. And these are essentially 30 to 40-minute talks. They're like show and tell deals. I'm holding up a clipboard with the pictures, and I'm just explaining it like I do. Very clear and concise, uncomplicated, just the facts. And you see the unmistakable pattern, the continuity of this thing across the decades, across the centuries. And we're going to end in the modern day with the happy ending, which is this. So you can access this series, and you want to watch this in chronological order. That's the best way to get it. That's my front page of the website, and that will connect you to like an index page. There's also like a page at Rumble, a video playlist where I've got them all. So that's my video series, Twitter, Rumble, my books, my website. And as always, you enjoy my work and my talks. Appreciate your support. A part of it is for support, and a part of it is to continue advertising, like on Twitter, and getting this out there, because nobody else is doing it. And that's the feedback that I constantly get from people is that, thank you, Mike. This is so grateful. I never knew this before. It's just not out there. It's just amazing the degree to which history has been either erased or corrupted. And it's a shame because I'll tell you what, even if it was all lies, anything I printed was bullshit, let's say. I'll tell you what, it'll be the most riveting, entertaining bullshit you ever read.
Right.
There's just so much intrigue and drama and murder, suspense. You can't make this up. The truth is stranger than fiction. So don't think, well, I'm not really into history, or you will be when you read my stuff. So that's it. realnewsandhistory.com. And thanks for all the support you guys have given me.
And I
almost
just saw
at
a
the
question
finish
there.
line. Yeah.
Mike, I know you've addressed this before. You have the PDF package, which he just touched on. I see a question here. How much would Mike charge for all his book in one package? Email you, right? And you'll work out something.
Physical books, all 34, is $475, which is an enormous discount if you bought them individually. Unfortunately, prices of paper and printing have continued to go up, but that is a great price if you want them all. So just send me an email, and I'll send you a special invoice if you want a whole package like that. Okay?
Maybe what we'll do, I'm not going to say maybe, we will do this. We will put together for the next giveaway, NewsTreason will sponsor a giveaway, if that's okay with Mike. We'll figure out a way to do all the books to one person, not 20 people this time. We'll do one.
Ooh, yeah.
All right. Well,
Maybe a
stay
lottery.
tuned. Yeah. All right. So we're going to wrap up here. And Mike, I know we're long on time. So if you need to truncate this a little bit, you just let me know where you got to stop.
Okay.
With our historical piece for the night, backed by popular demand. And I think Mike's going to end up having to write 3 more of these books by the time the way things are going.
Yeah, I'm discovering more poisons. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to head back to, if I can get StreamYard to work right, we're going to head back to Dig 'em Up, Mike's book, which, again, if you guys don't have this one, definitely get your hands on this one. It's available now on Amazon, both in paperback and in Kindle form as well. It's a fascinating read. We've done a few of these segments now. We're going to do a few more tonight. So, Mike, have at it. Let's go for it.
It's also part of the PDF package, but there it is. All big men, famous men, a lot of them presidents and vice presidents. These are not your conventional assassinations by gunfire or plane accident or whatever. These are people who just died suddenly at relatively young ages at a precise moment in time when they were problematic for the powers that be. Okay, they were poisonings. I'm almost certain of it all. But we did a couple shows on some of the old timers. But for this segment, let's focus on more contemporary cases of people who died suddenly.
Yes.
Chief Justice Antonin Scalia. Okay. Now they needed this guy out in the worst way because Obama wanted to get a leftist Supreme Court justice on the bench. Okay. Because they were anticipating Hillary to win, but there's no guarantee of that, right? So let's get rid of this guy in an election year and then replace him with a leftist, and we'll have the court. So he was not only the most conservative constitutionalist justice on the Supreme Court. It was said because of his stature, he also had the ability to sway some of the fence sitters his way. Okay. So let's see what happened to Antonin Scalia, February 13, 2016. All right, let's go to the next panel here. There it is. Scalia dead. Scalia's death roils the campaign and the court. But look at that CNN headline below it. Skipping Scalia autopsy spawns conspiracy theories. Well, excuse me. He's only a Supreme Court justice of the United States, and he dies at some ranch in New Mexico. Listen, I don't. You're someone in that stature. I don't care if you're 90 years old and obese running a marathon. You died. You got to be thorough. Do an autopsy. So, and this is the pattern. All of these guys, no autopsy. Never. They rushed to cremate him.
Mike, you know what? Again, I don't want to go too deep because I know we're short on time. But you know what I think of when I see headlines like that? Skipping Scalia spawns. That almost makes me think about, like, did they have some little bit of leaning into the media, maybe even back then? Because why the hell would they publish that otherwise?
There are indicators of that.
Yeah.
Somebody or maybe somebody on the inside, because the headline writer is not the writer of the article.
Yeah.
Maybe,
but the point is unchanged. You're right, that it's a pattern. And actually, I have to be honest with you. I wasn't awake back then. I didn't remember that piece of it. But of course, they skipped the autopsy.
So he's far away from home on a ranch in a county in New Mexico, which is totally Democrat nominated. And it was a Democrat coroner and a Democrat police chief. Nothing to see here. This reeked to high heaven. But to your point, and this might be related to it as well, and Obama wasted no time in appointing Merrick Garland as his replacement. Okay? And all of a sudden, mind you, this is early 2016. You've still got almost a whole year until the election. Mitch McConnell grows a set of balls and says, "Well, we're not going to appoint. We're not going to confirm any nominations until the election. You're a lame duck. It's a year left," and he held firm on that. And again,
interesting? Ain't that interesting?
I didn't know how to interpret it. There were a lot of oddities in 2015, 2016. They stuck in my head as unanswered questions. I put them in my memory file. Later on, unexpectedly, I would come to understand the answers when the Q operation became known. But at that time, this is another indicator. Why is Mitch McConnell holding so firm? This dirty rat, this junior partner of the left-wing Democrats, and he held firm, which leads me to believe that, yes, at that time, there was already a penetration, at least to the Republican Party, to get some shit done. Somebody must have said, "Listen, you MFer, you ain't approving nobody," until the election. And Trump won, and then we got, who was his first one? Gorsuch or something, which is a hell of a lot better than Merrick Garland. Okay? So that was another strange occurrence. So that's Antonin Scalia. Moving right along now. 2019. Yes. I mean, this one's really recent. I'm sure most of your audience knows this. But we can't stop talking about this guy too much because this one is so bad. Kary Mullis, the Nobel Prize winning inventor of the PCR technique. Notice I did not say PCR test. PCR means polymerase chain reaction. Well, chain reaction of what? What PCR does is it enables you to take a piece of genetic material and do a chain reaction and essentially replicate it. So instead of having, essentially nothing to study, now you have a whole lot to study. It's got research applications, also forensics for like solving crimes and stuff. This was a game changer in this field of his. This guy's legend. Right? He's like Babe Ruth. This was really a game changer to be able to replicate genetic material for research. Nobel Prize winner. He was awarded a prize in Japan, internationally known for this development. And it wasn't long before Anthony Fauci and friends got a hold of this technique and decided that they would use it as a diagnostic tool. So that means you can essentially get a little bit of nothing, multiply the hell out of it, and say, this person's got this disease or that disease. And Mullis was upset about that. He hated Fauci, spoke out against Fauci, wanted to debate him. Fauci wouldn't. He said he referred to him as a liar. He says he's hoping that a media would follow him around so he could stalk Fauci and challenge him. I really hate it. He was a colorful character, down-to-earth guy, brilliant man, by all accounts. So he invents the PCR test, and so even before COVID, they were using PCR to push various diseases and whatnot.
Yep.
But PCR is, by definition, enables you to take nothing or almost nothing and turn it into something. And then you can say, aha, tested positive.
He famously said in almost the direct quote, he basically said, with PCR tests, you can find anything in anyone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was amazing to me, Mike. This is one of those. It's not this way anymore, but at the time, one of those PTSD type of moments where can you imagine living in a world where, as somebody's putting one of those tests up their nose, you're showing them.
Yes.
You're showing them a video of the man that invented the test that won a Nobel Prize for it. Like, not my words, his words.
Right.
And blank stare. Just blank stare. It's crazy.
You could not have this man alive and then roll out COVID, which was almost entirely dependent on the misuse of the PCR. And there, look at his date of death, August 7, 2019. When did we first see those fake crisis actors keeling over in Wuhan? Remember those ridiculous pictures? That was like November, December 2019.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, he would have raised holy hell if they dared to use his test to create this crisis. No, he had to go. No brainer there.
Yep.
So he gets pneumonia and they finish him off in the hospital. Child's play.
Yep.
And there he is receiving his prize. And we should distinguish the real Nobel Prizes from the fake ones. You have the fake Peace Prize and then the fake prizes for theoretical science where you just cook up a math equation and you claim it proves this or that when it really doesn't. No, this was like for real science. They do have that.
Yeah.
And
You know,
like
like the same one they gave to that drug they wouldn't let us have. What's it called? Oh yeah, ivermectin.
Oh, yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one too. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there he is. There's an interview with him, and in this particular interview, he's really getting animated. Like Fauci, he doesn't know anything about nothing, and I'll say that to his face. He hated the little bastard. You could tell because he was lying about his stuff. He said they don't belong in these positions. These people, Fauci, Collins, they're just glorified bureaucrats, and it was a great frustration for him. He says, "How do you expect people who are without scientific backgrounds to distinguish between who's a real scientist and a fake?" So very, very frustrated and passionate about this. So it's not as if they did this and he just said, oh, well, no, he constantly spoke out against it. Must have been very frustrating for him. This was never intended to be a test. It's just what it is. It's a research tool for making something out of nothing. And that is what COVID is. It's something out of nothing. They shut the whole damn economy down, killed all those people. Ugh.
Terrible.
But that's what it's enabled him. Enabled it all, the convenient death of Carrie Mullis. Now, here's one that kind of flew under the radar, and I'm a little iffy on this. Because for all we know, Robert Trump, the brother of Donald Trump, he may be in Valhalla somewhere with Charlie Kirk. We don't know. Okay. So I'm 50-50 on this, but Robert Trump, very close to Donald Trump. They're very close, personally. And he's also, like Trump, cooperated with like FBI and investigations in the past. Okay. So either they sent him away for his protection or they finished him off. So I'm not sure on this one. But it was a very interesting and sudden death. And it was something interesting that Trump said after he died. He said, yeah, I'll see him again. I don't know. Is that Trump's spiritual side talking, or does he mean it? Yeah, I'll see him again. Just like Kash Patel said to Charlie Kirk, I'll see you in Valhalla. Now, Valhalla, that's, Charlie Kirk was a Christian. That's Norse mythology. I'm hearing Valhalla is the name of something affiliated with a witness protection program. I haven't been able to confirm that. So I'm not sure about this one.
It's also right across the river in Westchester County. So,
well, not to get too off topic, did you see that there's a picture being circulated of the Charlie Kirk shooter in his dorm room? and on the screen he's got a picture of, I forget where it is, but the map on the screen would have Valhalla on it.
No way.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, Rambo showed it on earlier today.
Yeah,
If you guys want to
good
go back
catch.
and check out his
Good
show.
catch.
There's also a Valhalla connection in New Zealand. And where was Kash Patel a few weeks ago? Oh yeah, he was in New Zealand.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know. A lot of coincidences. A lot of coincidences.
He was not just my brother, he was my best friend. The funeral service was held for Robert Trump in the East Room of the White House. So they were very close. Also very suspicious is that trip and fall down the stairs of Ivana Trump, Trump's first wife, mother to his first 3 children. Very weird. And then they supposedly buried her in that little nondescript grave at a golf course. So, this is a high stakes game. It certainly would make sense to want to protect your family members and send them away. And frankly, I can't remember the last time I saw a Donald Trump that I could definitively say, oh, yeah, that's the real one. I know I see a lot of 5'11" Trumps. I've seen some taller ones too. And we don't know. As far as his kids, I ain't seen the real Eric Trump or the real Don Jr. or Ivanka. I seen some bad lookalikes. So, I mean, this is a dangerous game. There still could be some remnant out there. It's very, very, a lot of this is very mysterious,
Just
this is
to
also related to vote.
very quickly clarify, thank you, chat. The picture he had on his computer was Goat Island in New Zealand, and there is a Valhalla, which is the location of the Danish Society's coastal retreat called Valhalla in Lee, New Zealand, which is near the Goat Island Marine Reserve.
Interesting. That would be a great place to hide. Other side of New Zealand.
Yeah. And that's where Kash was just like 3 weeks ago. I don't know.
I'll see you in Valhalla. President John Magufuli of Tanzania died during the peak COVID, March 2021, age 61. And alongside, Lukashenko of Belarus, he was the most outspoken national leader calling out COVID as a hoax. It was very problematic, but he really embarrassed them. And he's mentioned in the Q post, by the way. This was the fellow who had his security services send samples, DNA samples from a goat, a pawpaw fruit, and I think even some motor oil.
Some watermelon, like all sorts of crazy stuff.
It all comes back positive for COVID. So he was a hero among us who saw through the lie, Magufuli. And then he died suddenly in March 2021.